Do you want to write a Star Wars short film? I'm digging deeper into our process of writing and producing Star Wars Rivals, the fan film, and we're halfway through the script. If you haven't watched our videos covering the first half of the script, check those out first. In this video, we're going to talk about the end of Act 2 and the beginning of Act 3. The second half of Act 2 continues the escalation of conflict from the first half of Act 2. And Act 2 ends with a significant plot point that pushes us into the resolution that will happen in Act 3. In our film, that's pages 4 and 5. Let's dig deeper into the script of Star Wars Rivals. What's up, storytellers and Star Wars fans? I'm Sherer, author of the time travel novel Timeslingers, and co-writer and producer of Star Wars Rivals, the fan film. I've co-written 3 short films, co-produced 2 of those, and written around a dozen or so short film scripts. On today's video, I'm continuing our series on how to write a Star Wars short film. We've already covered the first half of the script, and today we're digging deeper into pages 4 and 5. If you want more details about the process of writing and producing science fiction and fantasy stories, subscribe to this channel and check out more of our videos. In the last video, I ended with the midpoint of the story where Sky was starting to let the anger take over. We left Sky and Kel back in their tent, but now we're transitioning into a new scene and a new location. Let's take a look at the finished film before we dig into the script.
There you are. Thought you might have given up.
Where's Master Kuthar?
Not here. Hard to believe someone's running later than you. Let me see it. Does it even work?
Stop it! We should wait.
Just want to warm up a little. You don't deserve this. You know I'm better than you.
Your anger, use it. Again.
The daughter of a Sith sorceress. And as soon as I defeat you, I'm gonna tell him.
No. Do it now.
All right, let's take a look at how that scene was written. We're back on page 4. Here we go. Exterior, we're outside in a meadow at daytime. Kel waits under a tree. Sky approaches, satchel on her arm. I mentioned the satchel in the last video. The satchel was really important because the satchel meant that she was carrying another lightsaber, which we're going to see, right? Kel says, "There you are. Thought you might have given up." And actually, Maddie delivers that line really, really well because it's super sarcastic. I love that. Sky says, "Where's Master Kuthar?" Kel says, "Not here. Hard to believe someone's running later than you." She nods at the satchel. "Let me see." Now, the last time we saw the satchel, we were supposed to see the red lightsaber inside the satchel. But like I talked about, we lost the satchel, and this scene was filmed before the tent scene. The tent scene was our last shoot of the day, our last scene that we shot of the day. So we were supposed to foreshadow that the red lightsaber was in the satchel, but we lost the satchel, so that didn't work. Kel then pulls her own lightsaber out and ignites it, and it's green. She steps towards Sky and waves the saber at the satchel. Sky pulls out her lightsaber. It's unpolished and shoddily made. Kel says, "Does it even work?" And we have a note here that you can see that she laughs. By the way, if you're doing these parenthetical statements underneath the dialogue or in between the dialogue and the character's name, those parenthetical statements are generally speaking supposed to inform the actors of how the line is intended to be delivered. So by saying her laughing, I probably personally, if I was writing this part, this is probably a Ben thing, but if I were writing this, I probably would have put this back up in the action piece. You'll notice that the same thing happened up here in the dialogue here. "Not here, hard to believe someone's running later than you." And then parenthetical statement, nods at the satchel. But see, I wouldn't have used it. I would have used it more for emotion and less as action. I would have had an action say nods at the satchel. So just stylistic differences between different writers, but that's how I would have used it. So she laughs. Does it even work? Sky ignites it. It glows blue but sputters, unstable. Maybe a little bit like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Although in our special effects don't make it look like it's sputtering as much as we intended it to be based on what was in the script. So just a note. This is another one of the things that's a little bit different than the script than what you see in the final product. Kel shakes her head, then lunges. Sky throws her saber up to block the feint. Kel snickers. Sky sets her jaw determined. So now we see Sky kind of stand up to her sister a little bit more. And Sky says, "Stop it. We should wait." Kel says, "I just want to warm up a little." Again, Maddie's delivering these lines really well, and so is our actress for Sky, whose name is Marianne Holland. Fantastic actress and a personal friend of mine. Sky stands her ground. Kel twirls her saber and attacks. They spar, but quickly intensify. Sky on the defense. Kel says, "You know I'm better than you. You don't deserve this." And that's when Sky's mom comes back into it and says, "Your anger, use it." Now you'll notice the script should say that that's a voiceover because Sky's mom isn't actually there. And we've been calling her Sky's mom, so we should have called her Sky's mom here. But as these drafts get developed, what happens is we're working with Ben. Ben is going to direct the film. He knows what we're intending here. The actresses know what we're intending here. And he has to just direct it in the right way. The script doesn't need to be perfect in this regard. All right, that's it for page 4. Now moving on to page 5. Sky goes on the offensive, and her mom's voice comes in and says, "Good, again." I think we actually cut that from the final. I'll have to take a look at that, but if I'm not mistaken, that actually does not occur. The two sabers lock as the sisters push against one another, and then this is where the bullying really gets over the top. Kel says to Sky, "The daughter of a Sith sorceress." Kel leans in closer, her saber inches away from Sky's face. "As soon as I defeat you," with amazing speed, Kel spins and slices Sky's saber in half. The pieces fly off into the grass, which is a special effect that we had to come up with. And she finishes the line, "I'm going to tell him." So we know that Sky was already really worried about Kel talking about her lineage. And now we know why, because she's the daughter of a Sith sorceress. Her mom is a Sith. That's not good. So this is what Sky is really scared of Kel telling to Master Kuthar, because she's afraid that it will somehow affect her ability to be an apprentice. Now, when she says, "I'm going to tell him," that pushes Sky over the top. Sky and her mom's voice can be heard saying no. There's an indication that Sky's mom is sort of helping her out in the Force here. And then Sky force pushes Kel back. Then she reaches out. Another lightsaber flies from the satchel into her hand. She ignites it. This is the other saber that we saw in the other room. It's red and strong and powerful. So it was built really well. It was constructed by a master. Probably Sky's mom, because it's Sky's mom's lightsaber. And that's where I'm going to stop today. And you'll have to watch the rest of it with us as we go into our resolution, because that was plot point 2. Plot point 2 was Sky reaching for the red lightsaber. Sky reaching for the red lightsaber signals a lot of stuff to us. But let me tell you a few more stories about the writing behind what happened here. So as you noticed as we started out on page 4, I was super stoked about the location for Star Wars Rivals, specifically this scene. It's gorgeous. But due to a miscommunication, we did get kicked out of this specific location. And I'll talk more about that when I talk about the process of producing our film. All we knew when we were writing the script was we needed to have a really cool looking location to film at. It just so happens that we were able to secure this gorgeous location that we then got kicked out of. And that created all new problems for us, which I will get into later. You also saw the note about the satchel, and I talked a little bit about that. The satchel was supposed to be our visual cue that Sky had the red lightsaber. But we lost the satchel, so all we had to show was that Sky was picking up the red lightsaber. And then hopefully you would get the impression that she had it somewhere on her, probably in her satchel. You'll also notice that we're right back into Kel's bullying of Sky, the central concept that we're trying to push, that bullying causes people to feel fear, and that fear can turn into anger and then suffering, and then that leads to the dark side. So the theme and the concept are working their way into everything. You'll notice in the script we don't get a lot of description about Sky's lightsaber, but we did see in the previous scene that she was struggling to make it. And by the way, the co-writer and producer of the film, Nathan Sheck, and his brother, built this lightsaber. And it's intentionally supposed to look like she didn't do a very good job. Meanwhile, Kel continues to push Skye and intimidate her by starting to spar early even before Kuthar arrives. That's a bully's trick. Try to put the other person off guard even when no one else is around. In fact, I've seen this personally in my life. Bullies act the worst when no one else is around. You'll notice that there's not a lot of description in the script about the fighting. That's because our director, Ben Anklam, worked with the fight coordinator to come up with the choreography of the fight. The key points of the fight are included in the script, especially related to the emotions the characters are facing as they spar. But we don't go into detail of describing every single lightsaber slash that happens in this fight. Not in the script. Kel slices Skye's saber in half, which was, like I mentioned, a fun special effect to have. And you'll notice throughout this battle, Skye, despite her fear, continues to get angrier and angrier at her sister. That leads her to force push her sister back, another pseudo special effect. And both Skye and her mother yell no, which indicates that her mother, as I mentioned, may be guiding her in the Force. And we kind of knew that that was something that could happen based on what we were starting to see in The Force Awakens. And at this point, we hit our second plot point. Skye reaches back and pulls her mother's lightsaber from the satchel, the one we saw back in the tent. And remember, when we were producing this, it wasn't in the script, and I had to, as a producer on set, say, we've got to show that somehow. So just keep in mind, everyone's caretaking the story as we walk through this. Ben would notice things that needed to happen, I would notice things that would need to happen, and so would other people on the team. All right, now that I've talked through that portion of the script in more detail, let's watch that portion of the film one more time before we get into today's takeaways and pro tips.
There you are. Thought you might have given up.
Where's Master Kuthar?
Not here. Hard to believe someone's running later than you. Let me see it. Does it even work?
Stop it! We should wait.
Just want to warm up a little. You don't deserve this. You know I'm better than you.
Your anger, use it. Again.
The daughter of a Sith sorceress. And as soon as I defeat you,
I'm gonna tell him.
No. Do it now.
All right, now for today's takeaways. You'll notice that we've continued to increase the conflict. I keep talking about that because it's super important. It makes people interested in finishing the film. We've also seen Skye's full turn to anger at this point, which is critical to her emotional journey. And the red saber signals to us that Skye is giving in to her anger, meaning that we have visual, audio, and emotional cues in play as we head in to our resolution. For one more pro tip, stay tuned to the end of this video. Do you have any other tips or tricks or another question? Leave me a comment down below. I'd love to help. If you want more details on the process of writing and producing Star Wars Rivals, subscribe to this channel. I'll continue to fill you in on all the details related to writing and producing our Star Wars fan film. If you like this video, bash that like button for me. And my final pro tip, teamwork. I never even met our fight choreographer, not once, which meant I had to rely on Ben Anklam, our director, to work out a great fight scene. Making a film, even a short film, requires teamwork, so build a great team. I'll see you on the next video.